Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new mini-series here on the channel, Quest for Mythic Invitational Invite. This is going to be a short series. I'm going to post an episode every single day at midnight until the end of the month and document my climb towards the top 8 of the ranked constructed ladder on MTG Arena. If I make it there, I qualify for the Mythic Invitational that will be held in March. My peak rank on the ladder is 54, but currently I'm in the 400s somewhere, so it will be a bit of a climb, but hopefully we can get there. Hopefully you can learn some of the strategies that I have used to climb all the way from gold up to Mythic this season. So I hope you enjoy the video, and be sure to hit that thumbs up if you do. Subscribe if you want to get updates when I post new content, including future episodes, and also leave a comment if you have any questions or feedback. But without further ado, let's get to the matches. Hello, before I start diving into some matches, I do want to cover the deck that I'm going to be using. It is mono blue. It's the deck that I have been using to climb all the way from gold, so I'm very familiar with it, though there are a couple of changes that I have made post-Pro Tour, so after I've seen what people have been doing in the Pro Tour. First, I went up to 20 lands in the main deck. That's just so that I don't have some draws in the early stages where I'll just lose to myself. In certain matchups, I will sideboard out a land. Just the standard stuff: 4 Wizard's Retort, 4 Tempest Djinn, 4 Tricksters, 2 Essence Captures. I used to have 1 Essence Capture, but I moved up to 2. That seemed to be pretty standard the Pro Tour. 2 Chart a Course. I used to have 3, but I think in a meta where there's more mono blue, having another Essence Capture to be able to deal with Tempest Djinns is nice. It's also a nice card in the mono red matchup, in the red green matchup. 3 Spell Pierce, pretty standard, and then 4 of these 2 creatures. 3 just pretty standard. Then only 2 dive downs. I do have an extra Chart a Course over the second dive down, just because I think it's helpful in the controlling matchups to have access to more card draw. Looking at the sideboard, I have a Disdainful Stroke, 2 more Essence Captures to round out the suite, 3 negates. I went up a negate from the initial list that I was using. I like having 3 negates for the Nexus matchups. 4 Surge Mares for mono red and red green, 2 Exclusion Mage, and then 3 Entrancing Melody is a real house against Sultai and also in the mirror match. So that's the deck I'm going to be using, and I hope you can learn how to play it in the matches. Hello and welcome to the first match that I'm recording for this series. Important thing I do want to note about climbing in Mythic specifically, playing against people that are much higher ranked than you, you will go up a lot more and go down a lot less. But if you lose to someone that's below you in the rankings, you go down quite a bit. Usually like around 100 spots, depending on where the person is. This person's at 945, I'm at 405, so if I do lose this, I will go down quite a bit. That being said, if I win this, I'll probably go up about 50 spots, starting at 405. It's definitely not a super difficult climb. It might seem like really far. We're going to lead with Mystical Herald. It might seem super far, but you go up very rapidly, especially when you're trying to get into the top 200. And then you usually go up like 30 per win or something. Okay, so this Blood Crypt right here says to me that he's playing Is It Drakes? Black-red aggro is not a super common deck, but we're definitely going to go with the Curious Obsession on turn 2, especially now that we do that Spell Pierce, but we are not going to be playing our Siren Storm Tamer because we do want to protect against Shock. Though I don't think he has it because he did play that, but he could have like a Lava Coil or something as well, and there's not really a ton to gain from playing the Siren Storm Tamer. Okay, so it might be the Mardu aggro list that has been going about. This play says to me that he just wants to mess with my mana a bit. Yeah. Smart play from him to do it on my upkeep. If I had a Siren Storm Tamer out, that would be bad because I could be representing Wizard's Retort. However, I do not have a Siren Storm Tamer out, so. Okie doke. So we're off to a good start here. There's a Chart a Course. I think three dive downs might be a little bit too many. I think when you have 4 Storm Tamers, you have some Spell Pierces, you have a lot of ways to protect your creatures. Okay. Tajik. Yep. Don't worry. I'm not worried about Tajik. As long as I'm drawing an extra card, I think I can win this race. Especially because I'm about to draw 2 more cards. Definitely just attacking with both here. You do want to reserve your decision in phase. That's a great draw. We will draw 2 more cards, and here we're going to just deploy the Mistcloaked Herald, and we can hold a Storm Tamer. We don't want to tap out of protection for our Mistcloaked Herald. He just showed us that he didn't have a way to kill it. He probably doesn't have Goblin Chain Whirler in this deck because it's like 3 colors. This isn't a red source, so probably not playing Chain Whirler. And we do want to keep the Storm Tamer protection, but 2 Tricksters means that it's going to be very hard for him to race us, which is something that we want to make sure of. Okay, Heroic Reinforcements. That's fine for us. We have double Trickster, so we are going to be able to get in for a lot of damage. So there's 4, 6, 9, no blocks. So we are going to attack him for 4. And then we can double Trickster him, which will give us lethal. If he doesn't have a kill spell, which he could have a kill spell, but he could have another heroic reinforcements. Okay. Resolve. I want him to tap out ideally. Perfect. So, he goes to combat. I Merfolk Trickster down his Tajic. Now here, I'm in a little bit less pressure. I can just let him attack with everything. I think I am going to do that. He hasn't played a land this turn. Okay. So, I would tap down this thing, attack with everything. That's 4, 6, 8. So that's not lethal for me. So here I am just going to block. Okay, I think we want to play this guy out because we do have, we're going to draw 2 cards this turn. We'll tap down that thing because he can do 4 to us this turn. So let's do this. Let's see what we can draw. Spell Pierce not helping. That's not really helpful either. We're just going to attack with these 2 guys. Keep in mind we can counter 2 of this damage with our Storm Tamer, which we probably will do. We have 3 instants. So we can kill him with Terramander next turn. But we have a lot of chump blockers here. We'll let that resolve. That resolve. Now we care more about protecting the Terramander than we care about protecting our other stuff. And we got the W. Really important to win these matchups. And I think we have a very good sideboard plan here. 2 Essence Capture, definitely coming in. 4 Surge Mirror, definitely coming in. In this type of matchup, I cut Wizard's Retort because his win cards are going to be like cheaper than or equal to Wizard's Retort. It's not a very good card, especially on the draw. Essence Capture fulfills that role a lot better. He did not show us a ton of instants and sorceries, so I'm probably going to cut the Spell Pierces or the Dive Downs because Dive Downs are like how he kills my guys. I mean, I think he's probably, we saw Cast Down. Overall, I think I would rather have, he probably has like Shocks. It's actually close which one I would rather have. But here I do need to make 2 more cuts. Melody is interesting. It's a card that I do like in this type of matchup sometimes. So let's just put it in preliminarily. Exclusion Mage, not the best. A lot of his cards have haste. We don't really want the negates. Okay, so a lot of the time I'll cut 1-drops in this type of matchup too, like Mistcloaked Heralds, just because he's hitting me and these guys like aren't as fast of a clock, so I'd rather have like more impactful things for the matchup. So I think I'm going to cut my Mistcloaked Heralds, and then I just have to cut 2 more cards. I'll cut the Chart of Courses. They just are going to be less impactful. So basically, I'd rather have Enchanting Melodies than Mistcloaked Heralds here, as a way to like kill his things. His cards are going to be fairly cheap, so those are just more like late game cards, so that I'll win the late game. On the play, I'll probably change up how I play, so I can ensure maximize my odds of having a turn 2 Curious Obsession. Okie doke. So this is definitely a mulligan. We can't really use 5 lands super effectively, though. Yeah, it's a mulligan. I usually mulligan hands that don't have Tempest Djinn or Curious Obsession. We will keep that on top. We do want to have something on turn 1 if we can. Oh, good. That's good for us. The problem with hands that have just 5 lands is you don't really have good ways to use the lands. Granted, we did bring in Entrancing Melodies and things like that. Oh, good. Oh, yes. This is going very, very well. So hopefully he tries to cast like a Tajic or something. But seeing these lands, I'm even more positive that he doesn't have Chain Whirler. Yeah, we will Essence Capture that. This just leaves us more free to play our Tempest Gen here. And get in for 2. If I don't have a way to protect the Tempest Gen, I'm usually just going to run it out there and not like try to bluff protection for it. Because there's a fair chance he just doesn't have a way to kill it. He seems like he's shifted into more of a controlling role, which I'm fine with, because now that I have these 2 Entrancing Melodies, or I think he's just color screwed on red mana, to be quite honest. But if he plays like a Tajic, I can just take it. If he plays any, I can just take his threats now. 2 Entrancing Melodies are really coming in clutch here. Imagine if these were 2 Merfolk Tricksters, then I'd just be in real trouble. But he's color screwed here. That's the problem of running a Mardu aggressive deck. Is he going to go for Mortify? Yes, he is. I don't care. I have these 2 cards are going to just give me great value. My only fear is that he has a couple Heroic Reinforcements. Okay, Hero of Precinct 1. Footlight Fiend. Okay, so that's his game, eh? We're definitely just going to take the hero. We don't have any multicolored spells, but we know he does, so. So he was just saving the Footlight Fiend, I guess. Sure, we'll block. We don't really care if he trades it off. We don't have a way to get a ton of value from this, but the Footlight Fiend could actually be really scary for us later on because it can kill our other cards. And we'd rather save our dive down to protect other things. Okay, now I have regrets. But hopefully he'll play something good soon. So if I knew I was going to draw my second dive down, then I would have definitely fired it off there. But we are at a high life total. We have a lot of good cards to draw. If we draw Tempest Gen, we just win because we have double protection. Oh, yes. Oh, speak of the devil, and ye shall be rewarded. We basically have him on a 2-turn clock because we could just draw a land next turn and kill him. And double dive down makes me feel like it's going to be very safe. He already used a Mortify, 2 Mortifies. I'm worried about another Plague Crafter a little bit, but there we go. Protection engaged. Gutter Bones, sure. So he's still dealing with his mana problems. We're definitely going to attack him here. Oh, that's a perfect draw. Because not only does it put him on the 2-turn clock, it also could maybe let us draw another creature to help us play around Plague Crafter. Because that's really a problem for us, Plague Crafter. We might even just steal one of his creatures to help us play around it. Yeah, we're going to do that. We'll steal that one. This all is just to help us play around as much stuff as he could have. I mean, he could have 2 removal spells, but he didn't have a removal spell last turn. He would have used a removal spell this turn. Overall, I just don't want to lose to Plague Crafter, so I'm not even going to block him if he attacks me. So we're protected against him top decking a removal spell. Okay. That's a little bit unfortunate. Kill the Gutter Bones. So now I'm a little bit worried because Plague Crafter is now an out for him. But I think we'd rather play around top deck removal rather than top deck Plague Crafter. He probably has another Mortify and several cast downs. So just by the numbers, it makes sense. And we got the win. How many spots do we go up? We go up a literal 100 spots. So as I said, it's not going to be super hard to get at least in striking distance. So hopefully this was helpful for learning how to play the Mardu matchup, and I'll be back with another match in a moment. Hello and welcome to another match. We're playing against someone who's ranked 697 and we are ranked 305. Sticking with our trusty mono blue list. Should be interesting. So last match we went up 100 spots. I think that reflects, I think there's like a little elo system, so you like go down a lot if you lose to someone way lower, but my elo is probably pretty high because my win rate is pretty strong in Mythic. I don't know exactly how it works, but I went up 100 spots, which is more than I think I've ever gone up from a win. That's a lot of spots to go up. You go up more spots the lower you are on the ladder. I reckon that you kind of have to win like 10 matches in a row to get to the top 8. So like one match out of the win. Because if you win like 10, then you go up like 100, and then you go up like 50. This is a strong hand. We're definitely going to keep it, even though we are on the draw. My prerequisites for keeping are generally if I have a Tempest Djinn or a Curious Obsession. Tempest Djinn on the draw, I will only keep if I have like other early plays. Here we are going to lead with Siren Stormtamer. It just makes a better draw if we draw Wizard's Retort. We don't really need to prioritize anything right now. Here we are definitely not going to attack because he probably just has Merfolk Trickster. So we're just going to play our Terramander and pass. And one thing I do want to mention is my win rate in the mirror match is quite strong. I've got a lot of experience in the mirror match, and I think I know how to play it pretty well. One thing I do want to note is that Merfolk Trickster is pretty much if you don't get value from the Merfolk Trickster's enter the battlefield effect, it's pretty dead because you're always fighting in the air. You never really care about the ground, and the 2 damage it does is not relevant because it's a battle of card advantage. So hopefully we can get him to tap out so we can resolve a Tempest Djinn. Okay, he has his own Tempest Djinn, so we will just cast our own Tempest Djinns now. Tempest Djinn is one of the key cards in the matchup for sure. The fact that we have 2 Tempest Djinns makes me very confident here. So we could do a double block, but there's no real reason to. We're not behind in the race, really. We can just hit him back, play our own Tempest Djinn. We don't really want to play Curious Obsession because we want to hold up Dive Down. And here, I think we're just going to chart a course. He probably has Counter Magic up, and we'd rather have this countered. Okay, another Djinn. Interesting spot here. We're going to end our turn. Next turn, we'll just jam a Djinn, as they say. Actually, next turn, we'll hold back on defense and just play some Djinns. So no blocks. Terramander, sure. So he definitely has a counterspell. But we still have to go for this, I think. Resolves. That's unexpected. So because we have 3 Djinns, we're going to be very strongly favored. So we just want to make sure we don't die here now. Okie doke. This is what I'm talking about. So he doesn't have a counterspell, or he didn't last turn. Maybe he does now? Nope, no counterspell. So here we'll just keep passing. Next turn we'll start attacking with our Djinns. Or with one of our Djinns at least, will be better suited. We just want to make sure we hold up Essence Capture, and our Dive Down, and our Siren Stormtamer. So he's almost able to adapt this. Okay. You want to hold up this, this, and this. So let's attack with 1 Djinn. 2 Djinns. 2 Djinns seems fair. He has 3 cards in hand. Definitely going to Essence Capture that. Target one of our attacking Djinns. He does that before combat, before damage. let's counter that. Spell Pierce makes sense. So we'll resolve that. And then we'll use Dive Down to save our Djinn that he blocks. Oh no, we can't. Dang. Okay. So a little bit unfortunate for us, but it happens. So we essentially traded a bunch of resources. He now has no cards in hand, and we're still protected here. So, yeah, we can still block here. If he gets too risky, we can so we have 1, 2, 3 instants in the graveyard. So let's just chump this guy. Now we'll have 3 lethal attackers on our turn, because he's going to make this guy big. So if he plays a Tempest Djinn, he's dead. He has to have exactly Merfolk Trickster, and I have Dive Down, so I win. Okay. So we got the win there. The sideboarding is really an interesting thing. I think this is probably where I get my edge. I did change my sideboard a bit. I used to have a little bit different cards. I used to have like Fairy Duelist in the sideboard. I was basically using Alexander Haynes' list, if you're familiar with it. So instead of a Disdainful Stroke and a Surge Mare, I had 2 Fairy Duelists, which were pretty much for mono white in the mirror. But I think these cards are better anyway. So here we want to bring in Essence Captures, because stopping Tempest Djinn is huge. We want to bring in Entrancing. We sometimes will bring in Exclusion Mages. Negates, not really what I want to be doing. It's just a little bit too expensive to bring in Negate. So Exclusion Mage is definitely a consideration, though. So we'll start with it here. What cards do you cut generally? Generally, the cards that I have been cutting are Mistcloaked Heralds or Terramanders. The reason why you wouldn't want to cut a Mistcloaked Herald is because if you put a Curious Obsession on a Mistcloaked Herald, it's going to draw you cards the whole game. But if you put it on a Terramander, the Terramander is going to be like just blocked by Tempest Djinn, which is really bad. I do like Chart a Course in this matchup because it helps you find Entrancing Melodies more often. I tend to cut Wizard's Retort, which may seem controversial, but generally they're just going to be able to use their like Spell Pierces to get you. So I like to do that. I don't really like Exclusion Mage. It's like not a card I love. On the draw, I think I'm going to cut one of those. I think I'm going to cut. Let's just run it like this. We don't need all that many Essence Captures because he doesn't have all that many important creatures. All we really care about are Tempest Djinns. I'm still figuring out how the sideboarding works precisely with that, because normally I bring in 2 Fairy Duelists. So, and instead of like having, oh yeah, it's just a little bit different. I could consider cutting a land on the draw too. That's another thing I should have probably done. Okay, so this is definitely a keeper. We have a little bit of defense against an early Curious Obsession, and that was a phenomenal draw. We definitely are going to lead with a Storm Tamer here. Actually, it doesn't really matter what we lead with. If you have Wizard's Retort in your deck in this matchup, you want to be leading with Storm Tamer, because then you can hold that or Trickster up. Here, we're definitely not attacking. The key is to use your Merfolk Trickster for value, and so we're just going to play our Terramander. Because if you just play the Merfolk Trickster, it just gets blanked by Tempest Djinn, and is overall just a pretty useless card. So he didn't run out his Merfolk Trickster. Maybe he's learning. Okay, perfect. That's a card we want to be taking with our Entrancing Melody if we can. For now, we'll just play our own Tempest Djinn. So things are going pretty well this game. Having 3 Entrancing Melodies does kind of make you want to keep the 20th island, I'd say. So here, we're definitely not going to double block. He kind of represented a Merfolk Trickster on turn 2, so that it would just destroy us. And overall, now we just kind of want to get him to tap out. Okay, so we do this. So this kind of screams to me that he has double Merfolk Trickster, but to counter that, we're going to play a Siren Storm Tamer. If he wants to counter, he can counter. We're fine with that. Okay, Essence Capture, sure. So now we're going to try and get him with Merfolk Trickster, make him tap out on his turn, and then we can just Entrancing Melody and win the game. That's pretty much our key to success here. Because if he wants to keep his Tempest Djinn protected from our Tempest, and he's going to have to cast Merfolk Tricksters on his turn, or Counterspells on his turn, which means he won't have Counterspells up. Okay, so he does have a Merfolk Trickster. So we'll go for this. It may have been worth sacking the Siren Storm Tamer to prevent. So he's using a dive down now to protect his guy. Probably means he has another dive down or a counterspell. Oh, okay. So he just used 2 dive downs. So we're gonna. He could have a counterspell, but he did just use 2 dive downs very aggressively there. He had a 3rd dive down. Okay. We do have a Curious Obsession, so if we can trade these off, we'll be in good shape. Hopefully that can happen. Sometimes they just have a wacky draw, but if he has a 4th dive down here. Okay. Dang. Well, that's unfortunate, I will say. Sometimes they just have the nut draw, though. Okay, so we're going to put a... Actually, let's double check something first. How many instants do we have? We have 1 instant. We're going to put a thing onto our Terramander. Six, 8, 10. Yeah, we're probably going to have to go for a block plus dive down to keep our Storm Tamer alive or something like that. So this game was like a little bit out of our control here. He just happened to have triple dive down and another Merfolk Trickster to stop us from trading right before we drew. All right, okay. Block. So we're not technically dead yet. Oh, of course he drew Tempest. Yikes. And we're dead. Okay. So this was just a little bit of an unlucky draw, I'd say. It happens. That's why you play best of 3, so that the better player can win more often than not. On the play, what am I going to take out? I think I'm going to take out... Chart Course definitely gets better on the play. I might shave a little bit on Merfolk Trickster when I'm on the play. But it is quite nice. Essence Capture, I kind of like having 3. I think I'm just going to keep it the way it is. If I cut 1-drops, I usually don't cut them on the play because I want to maximize my odds of going 1-drop into Curious Obsession. That's generally how it rolls. Play first. Excellent hand. We're going to keep this for sure every time. And Essence Capture means that he can't pull one of the most classic tricks that you can do with this deck, which is on their upkeep, Merfolk Trickstering them on your second turn, which then prevents you from attacking and then Curious Obsession dies. But because of Essence Capture, that doesn't happen. So hopefully he has to mulligan. I would really like that. But keep in mind, he is much lower rank than us. He's at around 700, we're around 300. So if we do lose this match, we will fall quite a bit. And our climb will have to recommence from a lower ranking. There's also some argument to putting full control mode on when you are playing on Magic Online. On Magic Arena. Okay, so we're off to a fine start here. Let's see what we draw before we decide whether to run out this Storm Tamer. Okay, now we're definitely not going to, because we can Spell Pierce his Curious Obsession if he has one, which we will attempt to do. Hopefully it works. He could have... Okay, so it does work, which makes us vastly far ahead here. Okay, so he has a Siren Storm Tamer, which means that our guy is going to end up trading for his 2 creatures, which is still fine value. We drew a card from our Curious Obsession. He's attacking. Okay, maybe he fears... That's very interesting to me. I normally don't think you would attack there. I think you would try to go for the double block. He's instead going for the chump block. Keep in mind, I still end up a card this way. He's losing a resource. I'm gaining. I don't lose any resources. And here we're going to go for the Siren Storm Tamer. It can protect our guy a little bit. And also, we still hold up our Essence Capture. One of the best ways for him to get back would be if he played a Tempest Djinn here. Keep in mind, I did side out all of my Wizard's Retorts, because I think you want cheaper things. But if he goes for Tempest Djinn here, we get to Essence Capture. We want to load all of our one basket because we want to be able to sack this Storm Tamer and not be worried about it. If he does attack, we will probably block. Okay, perfect. That is a very good draw. So we are going to opt first. See what we draw. We do not want to land. Okay. Now we will attack with our one Storm Tamer. He probably is going to chump based on what he's done historically. Yep. Not sure I agree with that play, but, you know, to each their own. Now we're just going to play the Pteramander out. We can just play Merfolk Trickster on our turn. If he does play another Tempest Djinn, hopefully he doesn't. Okay, thank goodness. He does not have one currently, or he's getting greedy and trying to make a land drop for no real reason. So he did not find a Tempest Djinn, thank goodness. Whew, I was so worried. If he had a Tempest Djinn, this game would get a little bit trickier for sure. We do have 3 instants, so Pteramander will be adapting soon. Okay. And based on the way he's played this, it looks like he's the type of person that will chump block here. So we're just going to attack with this one guy. I don't really agree with the chump block a lot of the time. Okay, so he does have dive down. Sure, let's Spell Pierce. We're going to Spell Pierce because that means that we're able to adapt the Pteramander next turn. That's really the big reason. Also, we eat his guy that way. So we're in pretty good shape here. We can end of turn Merfolk Trickster, a big card that he would play. Sure. He has 1, 2, 3. So it'll cost him 5 mana to adapt. We're going to just go for it now. And now we'll finally be able to connect with our Storm Tamer, get that extra card that we've been wanting. Okay, if he does put the counter on, it means he can't adapt. So he chooses not to put the counter on. I respect that decision. We'll offer the trade. And so we hit him for 3, 4, 5. I think I'd rather draw the extra cards at this point, especially because this will make adapting cheaper in the future as well. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to have a full hand of cards, an extra Pteramander, and we can take his Pteramander. So this game is pretty locked up, I'd say. We don't really care about keeping protection up for our guy right now. There's not a ton he could have that would really punish us, even if he Entrancing Melodies. We have our own Entrancing Melody. So there he goes. He Pteramanders. We're going to take his Pteramander, and this game's locked up. So pretty proud with the way. I think this is a good example of how to play this matchup. I think the extra Chart of Course really helps in the matchup. I'm a fan of it for sure. Take his guy, adapt our own guy. Oh, it only costs 1 mana. Dang, we really did go out of above and beyond the Call of Duty, as they say, and we get him for lethal. Really think this was a pretty classic match. Let's see how many spots we climb up. Hopefully quite a few. And we go up 70 spots, 75 to be precise. Pretty proud of that, and hopefully we can continue to climb in our next round. Hello, and welcome to the final part of our climb for this segment of the journey, of the quest, as I termed it. We are playing against someone who's ranked higher than us, number 168. And hopefully we can play against another interesting matchup that's not just mono blue. This may be one of the rare exceptions where I do keep a hand that doesn't have Tempest Djinn or Curious Obsession. It just has a lot of interaction. We are on the draw, so we don't want to go. We can play a more controlling game potentially. Hopefully we can beat this person that's a little bit higher ranked than us and continue to climb. We have gone up 175 spots since the start of this video, and I'm very glad that I kept this hand. as if we are playing against Nexus. Nexus is generally the only deck that plays Simic Guildgate. So this hand is great against Nexus because it has Spell Pierce and Wizard's Retort in it. Okay, so it ends up we're actually playing against the Gates deck. That is a deck that I've actually experimented with on my climb. We are just going to hold up an Essence Capture here. The extra point of damage from Mistcloaked Herald isn't going to be super relevant. We just have to make sure we counter all of his important threats. It definitely feels good to know the ins and outs of the matchup because I've played it from both sides so many times. Okie doke. So we do want to find a Tempest Djinn. They do have a little bit of trouble beating a Tempest Djinn because they don't have any real flyers. But luckily, all of my counter spells are going to be relevant in this matchup. And hopefully just things can go according to plan. We're not going to Spell Pierce a Growth Spiral. It might be tempting, but a lot of his cards in the early stages of the game are very clunky. Circuitous Root is a card that we'd much rather Spell Pierce, and we don't want to tap ourselves out of playing an Essence Capture or a Wizard's Retort as well. Also, we want to be able to make sure we can counter a Gates Ablaze. Hydroid Krasis, definitely going to Essence Capture that. Put the counter on my Mistcloaked Herald. So the fact that he's only getting to draw one card is pretty good for me there. We really would need to draw one of our good cards here, though. Okay, not really quite what we were looking for. Hopefully our counters can carry us, though, just a little bit longer. If he runs out of lands, then we'll be in good shape, because if he has to like go for a Circuitous Root here and we can just Spell Pierce it. Overall, I'd say that Mono Blue isn't favored in this matchup, but I think that since I know how to play the matchup, it'll be good. If you can stick an early Curious Obsession, they just lose. Yeah, we're definitely countering that. Not even a question. If you don't counter those, you just lose. They just play like, they just draw 6 cards a turn and you just can't win. Sure, Gate Colossus is not a huge deal. Okay, and now it's a huge deal. Okay, so we're going to lose this match, but not because of the way we played, I don't think. We just can't really beat this stuff, like, with the fact that we drew so many lands. We only drew 1 spell this entire match. I mean, this entire game, so I'm not, like, disappointed or anything. Like, I think we played this correctly. Yep, 5, and that's going to be game, I think. Yep. Yeah, might as well just concede here. So, yeah, there was nothing we could do that game. We drew 2 1-drops as our only 2 draws of creatures. So in this matchup, I've actually haven't played it from the Mono Blue side. I've only played it from the Gate side. I'm going to assume he's on a fairly standard version of Gates, which means he's going to have 8 like board sweepers post board. So I'm going to bring in all these and the Disdainful Stroke. I'm going to bring in the Essence Captures and Entrancing Melody for the massive Krasises that he can make in the late game. Though Entrancing Melody against Krasis, that might just be a little bit too sketchy. We'll put him in and then we'll probably take him out. Definitely taking out Dive Down. He does power removal in his deck. And then I'm going to take out Mistcloaked Herald. Mistcloaked Herald is just a little bit like too low impact, I'd say. I need to bring in all these counter spells so I can actually interact with him. And then I don't think I'll have room for the Entrancing Melodies, and then I'll cut a land probably. When I don't have Entrancing Melodies post board, I probably don't really need the lands as much. So yeah, 19 lands is definitely a fine place to be with this deck. It's not like I'm fine boarding out a land. $20 lands is a lot of the time just so you have a little bit of extra consistency, but in this matchup where I'm not like super favored, I think it's going to be good to just have another spell. Maybe that's just my mind being a little bit biased subconsciously by the way the first game went. This is an excellent hand. I don't think the Gates deck can really beat this hand, at least with the sideboard that I conventionally see. Curious Obsession on turn 2 is on the play is just unbeatable a lot of the time, especially when the Siren Stormtamer can potentially back it up soon. Now all I need to do is draw 1 counter spell for his first board sweeper, and it'll snowball out of control from there. Okay, have yet to find it, but we're also just going to slam our threats here. They don't really run like kill spells in the main deck. So we're just going to run out our Tempest Djinn here if we don't find a counter. Because he's in such a bad spot that he's just forced to run out Gates Ablaze. Even if he has Gates Ablaze, he has to have an untapped land to go with it. Okay, so he does have untapped land, and he has Gates Ablaze, because, yeah. And I couldn't find a counter. But there's Essence Capture. So we'll just reestablish our board. Hopefully he goes for like a Gatebreaker Ram or something, but overall we're in pretty good shape here. The fact that we don't have a counter yet is a little bit worrisome. Oh, and he doesn't have another land. That's good for us. Looking for a land. I don't know why my graveyard's kind of stacked up funny over there. When the Gates deck gets mana screwed, it just gets super mana screwed. Like, it's really, it gets ugly real quick. Okay. Because it can't function without a ton of lands. It runs like 28, so it's always a little bit unlucky for the Gates deck when it does get mana screwed. But that's life. Hopefully he doesn't have like a Crushing Canopy or some weird piece of sideboard tech here. Hopefully he just tries to tap out for a Gatebreaker Ram and I just win. Once again, I just can't find a counterspell to save my life in these first couple bouts. I mean, the first one I did, but I couldn't find any other spells. But I think we're going to win this game. This game's looking very wrapped up. He doesn't have anything to do when he has only 3 lands. At least nothing relevant. Yeah, that's game. Unless his sideboard is just a little bit weird. Okay, yeah, okay. So, do we want to make any changes on the draw? Not really. Transient Melody is still not looking super appealing. Like, sure, we can take a Krasis, but if he's already played a massive Krasis, it probably means he's got a lot of lands in play, and we're probably in bad shape anyway. So, I especially like having the extra land out on the draw. We just need to find counters to stop his early ramping, and hope that we can establish a Curious Obsession early. Also, Chart, of course, helps us find our lands and stuff. So this is a sketchy hand. It doesn't have any of the things we really need to win. So this is, I think, a hand that we might have to mulligan. It does have a Wizard's Retort and a couple of early creatures and an Essence Capture. The problem with the Gates deck is it just comes from so many angles. Our best route to victory is Curious Obsession on an early creature. But this hand can beat some Gates deck. I think we're just going to keep it. There's the constant risk of mulliganing a hand like this that's like fine, and then hitting a hand that's like unplayably bad, and then going to 5 and losing. I mean, you can win when you go to 5 as well. That makes this hand so much better. If that card had been there instead of Essence Capture or the second Terramander, I would have kept this hand at a snap. Like, boom. Easiest keep of my life. Just hope he can't slam something on turn 3, because we're going to be potentially like a little bit exposed on this turn, while we draw up to get more counters. Probably the card we're most afraid of is Guild Summit, but he can't cast anything, so that's good for us. And him Lava Coiling there is super good for us, like unbelievably good for us. So we're gonna get the Storm Tamer out so we can hold up Wizard's Retort or Essence Capture. No need to put another threat out. We're just gonna ride this Curious Obsession to victory, hopefully. Hopefully he casts a creature. That would be the dream. The dream scenario. We'll definitely counter Circuitous Route. So him playing a creature is good for us, because we want to save our Wizard's Retort to be more flexible in the future. We do want to continue hitting our lands, so that's a good start. We actually have a 3-powered threat. We have Counterspell backup. We have a lot of Counterspells in our deck now, so hopefully we can draw some of those. That's a really good draw. We are actually going to deploy the second. We're not going to deploy the second Storm Tamer. We'd rather just play this opt on the end of turn. Start building up more instants and sorcery so we can adapt this Terramander. He could go for a Gates Ablaze, but we have the Wizard's Retort for that. Definitely Essence Capturing that. Really good to be able to get rid of the Gatebreaker Ram. If he has a second Lava Coil, that would be problematic now. But looks like he doesn't. Definitely putting that on top. Now we're just bigger than his, what's it called? Larger than a Gates Ablaze could possibly be. We have counter backup. We're drawing 2 cards a turn. We're going to have a massive Terramander soon that's going to be adapted for super cheaply. Counters, hitting on lands is also helpful. So we're going to play that. So we have 4 instants in our graveyard already, so we're just going to play the Terramander here. And then hold up the Wizard's Retort and the Opt. And our Siren Stormtamer is massive right now. Okay, so we are going to Wizard's Retort that. It just means that he's going to be very restricted, and hopefully we can just find another counterspell in our next, like, 10 draws. Don't even think we want Tempest Djinn. It's weird, but I think we just want a counterspell, and we're just going to dig as deep as we can to find it. Because we already have 2 5/5s, so he's already dead next turn. Like in 2 turns. So this only costs 2 to adapt, so I think it's worth adapting before we attack. Just so that our attack does really threaten him. Counterspell. Counterspell me, baby. Oh, no. Okay. We're just going to end the turn. Hold up a bunch of mana. Hopefully he can't go land, Gates Ablaze when we have no counter. Okay. There's the Gates Ablaze. Oh! Okay, a little bit unfortunate. Okay, but we are back in business. He has 1 card in hand. We'll scry on the off chance we find Curious Obsession first. We don't, but okay, that's fine. That's a really good draw, actually, because that just means that there's pretty much no way we can lose now. Sure, he could go Archway Angel. That would be really bad for us. There's the Curious Obsession that we needed to win the game. Oh yeah, there's Essence Capture. Okay, so now we're just going to end the turn. Pass with all this mana up. We have 2 lethal threats. He has 2 cards in hand. 1 card in hand. And we got the W. Whew. So where do we climb? We beat someone that was ahead of us, so we do climb a fair amount. We were at 230 before, and now we are at 157, so we climbed 73 spots. So that's actually pretty good. We climbed 75 from the win before, so now we are at 157. The journey is going pretty well, I'd say. So far, we were at 405 when we started this little mini-series, and I've actually just recorded every single match. So 3 matches in. I think the discussion has actually really helped me climb. Hopefully it can help you climb in your own journeys and quests. And hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And I'll be back tomorrow with more segments of the journey.